The Law School Admission Council just changed how your law school GPA gets calculated effective immediately. If you took college classes while you were still in high school, dual enrollment, early college, whatever your school called it, those grades no longer count towards your LSAC GPA. Now, most people will argue about whether that's fair, but that's the wrong argument. It's going to waste your afternoon. Here's what should actually bother you. The change only applies to transcripts sent to the Law School Admission Council from today forward. And so picture two applicants, same grades, same 4 years. One of them got their transcripts last month because that's what every advisor tells you to do. The other one hasn't requested a single transcript yet. Now they're going to have different GPAs because of when the registrar hit send. And both of them are applying to the same schools this fall. Your GPA isn't yours. It is the Law School Admission Council's. They own the formula. They can change it on a Tuesday morning, and you find out from a video like this one. This is from an email the Law School Admission Council sent to pre-law advisors this morning. I've read it in full. And as I'm recording this, I can't find it anywhere on LSAC's own website. And so if they clarify or reverse something after I make this video, that's why. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I've watched LSAC move a rule mid-cycle before, but I've never watched one land like this. Now, imagine that you've got an applicant who took college classes at 16 or 17. Nobody told them it counted, and they found out at 22 or 23 when the CAS report came back with a number they didn't recognize, and it cost them getting into a law school, getting scholarship money, an entire cycle. And this doesn't mean the old rule was unfair. They just didn't know the number on the report was not under their control. They didn't know how it would affect them until it was too late. So if you're new to this, you don't send transcripts to law schools, you send them to LSAC. LSAC recalculates everything onto their own scale, and that number is what every school sees. It's almost never the GPA on your diploma because LSAC counts every undergraduate credit you earned before your first degree. Community college, the summer class at the school you transferred out of, the semester you'd rather forget until this morning. That included the classes you took at 16. That all stops today. Now, here is LSAC's stated reason for making the change. And I think it's fair. Access to college classes in high school varies wildly by high school. Some kids get a full early college program. Some kids get nothing. And a lot of the kids who do get classes early will have no idea those grades follow them into a law school application 6 years later. And some of them get told the wrong thing by an adult who should have known better. And that is the exact problem. The issue I have with what they're doing here is the execution. Because LSAC fixed a rule people didn't know about by changing it in a way people didn't know about, effective the same day, with the cutoff tied to a date most applicants can't even remember. And so if your transcripts are already at the Law School Admission Council, you are on the old calculation for this cycle based on LSAC's own language. And if you've already submitted applications, your file is sitting at those schools right now with a number that LSAC has decided just isn't fair. And the email doesn't say what happens to you, doesn't say whether a new transcript arriving later triggers a full recalculation or just gets appended. And so imagine you are the Dean of Admissions. It's November. You've got 4,000 files and a class you've got to build. The GPA field on the CAS report is the field your entire process runs on. It's what your model reads. It's what your median target's measured in. And this year, it is not the same measurement from one file to the next. One was calculated in June under the old rule. The next was calculated in October under the new one. And nothing on the report flags which is which at a glance. And so now you're handing out scholarship money against the median you've got to report to the ABA in the spring, and the median you end up with depends on what mix of formulas happen to come in. That is not a number anyone can defend, and these are people who've got to defend their numbers to a dean, a provost, and the ABA. And so watch what they're going to actually do about it. They can't fix the field. What they can do is stop trusting it and start reading around it. LSAC is putting those dual enrollment grades on the report anyway with a note attached. And so the admissions officer is going to look at the number, see the note, and make a judgment call. So that's giving them more discretion. And my read on this is that LSAC comes back and says they're recalculating everybody because the alternative is running a cycle with two different formulas in it, and these schools will hate that even more than applicants will. Or alternatively, it just is what it is and you got to deal with it. And while having two different formulas in the same cycle is less than ideal, we've been down this road many times before. I mean, think, for example, about the fact that you had the logic games transition 2 years ago. Some folks took the LSAT with logic games, some took it without. Law schools just looked at the LSAT score and said, your LSAT score is what it is. You've got this year, some folks took the LSAT remotely, some are taking it in person. And now with the transition in August, everyone's taking it in person going forward. Again, it is what it is. And so basically, they just say to themselves, you know what? You could argue it's apples to oranges, but we're going to say, you know what? From our perspective, the number is the number. We just deal with it. And so for some folks, this will be a GPA boost. For other folks, it won't. Ultimately, the size of the move, the effect that it has on you comes down to your dual enrollment credits as a share of your total credits times the gap between your dual enrollment grades and your college grades. That's it. Both terms matter, and most people are only thinking about one of them. So let's say you earned 24 credits of dual enrollment at a 3.4 because you were a kid taking college classes at a kid's maturity level. Then you took 100 credits at a 3.85 GPA in a real 4-year program. The old math blends them together, and LSAC reports you at, say, a 3.76. Strip out the high school credits, and you're at a 3.85. That's 9/100ths up for doing nothing. On the flip side, let's say you were a kid who crushed dual enrollment credits. You had 24 credits, all A's, 4.0 at the community college. Then you did 100 credits at a demanding undergraduate program for a 3.6. The old math had you at 3.68. Under the new formula, you're at a 3.6. So you just lost 8/100ths of a point in a GPA for doing exactly what your guidance counselor told you to do. And LSAC uses their own grade conversion table. And what surprises folks is that the A+ LSAC counts as being above a 4.0. It's listed as 4.33 everywhere I've seen it. And you should confirm that on LSAC's site yourself. But ultimately, if your dual enrollment transcript is full of A+, the grade getting stripped out is higher than you might think, and it's going to give you a bigger hit. So whether you're being harmed or helped by the change, ultimately, this could have an impact on you. But what you can control, because you can't control what LSAC does, and your dual enrollment's probably a done deal already, what you can control is your LSAT score. And funnily enough, strangely enough, your LSAT score weighs more heavily than all of your undergraduate GPA combined, whether it's 24 credits, 6 credits, 100 credits for all I care. And you can retake the LSAT a single day, 2.5 hours, weighs more heavily than any other factor in the admissions process. And so you've got time. The LSAT's coming up. You've got August, September, October, and November. You could take any one of those LSATs. You could take all of those LSATs and still apply to law school this fall. If you want my help getting a higher LSAT score, getting more scholarship money, getting into better law schools, I'm happy to help you out. I'm offering free LSAT tutoring for everybody watching this now or later. You can book that free LSAT tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. The link's below the video on YouTube, pinned in the chat on YouTube, in my bio on TikTok and IG. I've also put together a free LSAT cheat sheet to help you jumpstart your LSAT prep. You can grab that free cheat sheet at unpluggedprep.com/cheat sheet. Again, links below the video, pinned in the chat, in my bio as well. Happy to help you out. And if you're taking the LSAT in August, you should know that the June LSAT was the last one you could take remotely. Starting in August, the remote LSAT's a done deal. It's back to in-person for nearly everybody with rare exceptions. For 6 years, you could take the LSAT in your bedroom. But starting with the August LSAT, that's over. Nearly every LSAT in the country moves inside a Prometric testing center, delivered on a new testing interface that most test takers have never even opened. Same questions, same scoring, completely different day. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, which means I taught LSAT students in the old paper era, then the move to tablets in 2019, the emergency switch to at-home testing in 2020, and now this. And I'm going to tell you what LSAC's announcements don't, what this change actually does to your LSAT test day. And some of the traps have nothing to do with the room you take it in. One of them starts weeks before you ever see a test center in a queue most people don't even know they're standing in. And if you're hoping you can still take it from home, There is an exception buried in LSAC's own rules, a few people who get to keep remote testing, and I'll tell you exactly who qualifies. Now, the LSAT went digital in 2019 on the tablet. Then the pandemic hit, and in 2020, LSAC let people take the LSAT at home on their own computers, watched by a proctor through a webcam. It was supposed to be temporary, and it lasted 6 years. And over those 6 years, remote proctoring turned into an arms race. Now, LSAC has said straightforwardly they're making this change back to in-person due to test security and misconduct concerns, basically people cheating. And so LSAC is putting the LSAT back in a testing center under stricter supervision. But there is a logistics problem that's now yours. And of course, the LSAT questions themselves didn't change. You've still got 2 scored logical reasoning sections, 1 scored reading comp section, 1 unscored extra experimental section. It's still 120 to 180. Even the writing section is still online though, but it doesn't matter, it's unscored. Now, don't leave the writing sample to the last minute because they won't release your score to you or schools until you actually do that part. But the multiple choice, which is what matters, that has changed. Let's talk about the interface, for example. In August, the LSAT moves onto a new test delivery platform inside LawHub. LSAC is calling these changes minor, and honestly, they might be. I mean, you still have highlighting, flagging, moving between questions, but it's different, so it's not really small stuff. Now, your timing on the LSAT is strict. It's built out of hundreds of tiny movements that you don't even think about as you're doing them, where the clock is, how you flag a question, and get back to the one that you skipped. So let's say during a live section, you hit a dense logical reasoning question at number 14. You decide to skip it, and you try to flag it the way you've done it 500 times before. But the button moved. And so now you're looking to spend a few seconds trying to find it again. Happens again, question 19. And all those little movements add up over time. Together, they might add up to, say, 90 seconds that decide whether you get to the last question on the test. And on a strictly timed exam like the LSAT, 90 seconds means you're missing a question, which could ding your score. And if you've been studying all summer or on the old interface, all your reflexes, all your habits are trained for a screen that is not going to be reflective of test day itself. Now, LSAC has actually put out new versions of these practice tests in the new interface into LawHub. So my rule for you going forward is that every practice test you take from now on until your test date is in the new interface on LawHub. If you're taking the LSAT going forward, which I'm guessing you are, because why else would you be listening to me talk about the LSAT? The old interface is irrelevant to you. That is the cheapest move you could make that is maximally impactful to help you boost your score and avoid issues. Now, if you took the SAT or the ACT in a high school gym, you probably know what it's like to take a test with strangers around you, but it might have been a couple of years. If you're studying at your desk at home, know that that's not going to be the test day experience. A testing center is not silent. They are professional testing facilities, the same rooms where people sit for all sorts of other exams like accounting licenses and medical boards. You check in with an ID, your stuff goes in a locker, the proctor walks around. The person 3 feet away is typing because they're taking a totally different exam on a different schedule. So let's talk about what the test day looks like. You book a specific appointment. So your test starts when your slot starts. Could be 8 a.m., could be 1 p.m., could be 5 p.m. You want to show up early with a photo ID that matches your registration exam name precisely. You don't want to have a nickname on your ID or a maiden name in your file, and then you're arguing on it at a check-in desk instead of actually taking your exam. Everything you brought goes into your locker. You bring your phone, your lucky pen, your watch, your notes that you were cramming in the car. You walk into the testing room with what they allow and nothing else. The confirmation instructions spell out what the exam is and what you're allowed to bring. Then you sit down at a workstation that you've never been in before in a chair that's not your chair. You take the same exam you've been taking all along, though. And none of that needs to be scary once you've done it all before. It's just stressful the first time you do it. And so you want to take some practice tests in unfamiliar environments like a library, a coffee shop, not in your bedroom. You want to have ambient noise and strangers around you. You, of course, want to schedule this as a strict start time, a full-timed exam, 2.5 hours, no checking your email or getting a snack. That is the endurance piece of what I call the laser approach, which stands for learning, accuracy, sections, exams, and review. Most people build a foundation, but don't spend enough time taking full-length timed exams. And that mistake is going to cost you big time. Now, under the old system, you picked either remote or in person. Under the new system, you schedule your test center seat through Prometric's scheduling tool, and scheduling windows are assigned in the order that you registered, first come, first served. So first to register for a testing window means you are first in line to actually schedule a specific slot and a specific day. So if you register for the LSAT early, you have the first pick of every test center in your area, every time slot that you could possibly want. If you registered late, you've got slim pickings. You've got the 8 a.m. slot, even if you're a night owl, or you're taking a test 2 hours away instead of at the testing center that's 10 minutes away. And that's because, of course, when you took the LSAT remotely, they had infinite seats. Every bedroom in America was a potential test center, but a Prometric building, it has a fixed number of workstations, and there are a fixed number of testing centers. So this cycle is the first time in 6 years that the demand for taking the LSAT runs up against a limited number of testing centers and a limited number of seats. And the past cycle had the biggest applicant pool in over a decade and probably isn't slowing down anytime soon. And so if you're taking the LSAT, register now if you haven't already. Don't wait till the deadline. By the way, the registration deadline for the September LSAT is today, so make sure you do that if you haven't already. If you can't find a good test center, then maybe you're going to want to pick a later test date. Now, I promised I would talk about how you can avoid taking it in person. There are certain carve-outs or exceptions for taking it in person if you have certain disability-related accommodations, including testing from home or requiring a separate test center rule, if you are active duty military stationed abroad, or a spouse or dependent, or if you live more than 180 miles or more than 3 hours driving from a testing center, you can apply to test remotely. If you think you might qualify, file for the exception. But for the rest of you, think about whether you have a good test center that you can sign up for, and whether you can take it, and whether you're ready. If your recent timed practice tests are within your target range, and you can get in at least one full dress rehearsal in a public place, and if you can study with the new interface on the LSAC Law Hub platform, then go ahead and take it. If you have not done any of those things, or you're missing a couple of key ones, maybe you want to push the LSAT back. Maybe you want to withdraw the September LSAT, the October LSAT, the November LSAT. None of those are too late for this testing cycle. The law school admissions process has extended over time such that what used to be considered late is no longer considered late. And so if you think you could do better with a couple more months or a couple more weeks at least, maybe you want to push it back. If you withdraw from your upcoming LSAT and push back to a later one, law schools will never even know that you were signed up for that LSAT in the first place. And a couple more points on the LSAT is well worth the delay. Even just 2 points more could get you into a better law school, get you more scholarship money. It's the easiest money you'll ever make. And if you feel like you need that time, I'm happy to help you out. If you want to talk through what your LSAT prep plan could look like, what a study schedule could look like, I'm happy to serve as a resource. I'm offering free LSAT tutoring for everybody watching this now or later. You can book that free tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. The link is below the video on YouTube, pinned in the chat on YouTube, in my bio on TikTok and IG. I've also put together a free LSAT cheat sheet to help you jumpstart your LSAT prep. It's a quick reference PDF on everything logical reasoning and reading comp. It's a free download that you can grab. Happy to help you out with that. Again, below the video, pinned in the chat in my bio as well. In the meantime, all the best. Take care. Thanks for joining.